Well, I want to welcome everyone today and thank you for attending yet another in a series of webinars presented by B2W Software. As you can see on the screen today, today's topic will be Switch from Estimating with Spreadsheets. So the overall theme will be on why folks would want to switch from Excel to our database-driven B2W Estimate solution. We still have a couple people signing in, so let's get some introductions done while we're waiting on those people to come in. My name is Mark Hooks. I'm a solutions engineer here at B2W Software. I've been with the company since 2008. I started as a trainer and an implementer. And alongside with me today is Mr. Tom Willey. Mr. Tom Willey is the usual voice if you've sat on in any of our other webinars. He's the usual voice of these webinars. He's our senior solutions engineer. He's been with the company since 2006 and has a very similar path. He was a trainer, implementer, and then headed up our implementation department for a while. Tom's going to be a silent role today. He's going to be handling all the questions that come in. And you'll notice on your sign-in panel there's a questions pane there. If you have anything that you need to ask during the webinar, please just type it in that questions panel. Tom will be monitoring that to see if it's something that we can answer during the webinar. Sometimes we need a little more information. We may have to handle it offline. Sometimes it requires information that's really more just specific to your company, and then we could contact you offline as well for that. And at the end of the presentation today, we'll also have some time for a question and answer session. All right, so today's agenda today, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the one platform. The one platform is basically all the product offerings or solutions that we have here at B2W Software. Then we'll go on to some bullet points on why people switch from spreadsheets. We'll then do a demonstration of the B2W Estimate product. As I mentioned, we'll have an area at the end of the session where we can actually go through and take some final questions and answers at the end of the webinar today. So the first thing we'll talk about is the one platform. B2W Software offers actually 4 different products of what we refer to as elements. These elements are first the estimate element, which we'll be discussing mostly today. That's our estimating and bidding solution. We also have the ability, once you win the job, to dispatch your people, your equipment, material moves, equipment moves, and things across the different job sites you have. We also have the ability to track time, performance, material usage, subcontractor usage in the field. And we also have a product that handles both the maintenance of your fleet for both break fix and equipment repairs. Now, unlike any other company in the market, we've developed our operations platform on one SQL database. That's what we refer to as operational networked elements. And that I mean, if we need to put anything into our 3 operational products here, dispatch, track, or maintain, they sit on one SQL database, which allows us to say if we need a new piece of equipment to go into the program, you enter it in one specific location. The dispatcher can immediately see that piece of equipment. The guy in the field can track it, and the guys in the shop can see it as well. In addition to all 3 of those elements actually talking to each other. So the dispatcher can create assignments. The guy in the field can immediately pull down those assignments on his daily log. And if the guy in the field has a piece of equipment that goes down, he can put out a repair request that's immediately seen by the guys in the shop. So that's our operational networked elements that we offer here at B2W Software. Let's go to some reasons on why people switch from spreadsheets. So we'll go down the bullet list here and just kind of go take them one by one. Standardization being the first one. Costly errors in spreadsheets can result from the failure to use a single, standardized, easy-to-use estimating solution. B2W Estimate will save your company considerable time and money in 2 important ways. First, it provides estimators access to the same centralized cost resource database, and I'll be showing you that inside the product. Second, it uses the same simple process to produce bids with as little or as much detail as you want. Accuracy and efficiency is another reason that people switch over from Excel. Producing bids that are accurate and timely can directly impact your bottom line. B2W Estimate removes the worry associated with spreadsheets by providing a simplified, bulletproof framework and built-in calculations. As you know, one broken cell, inside your spreadsheet is sometimes not easy to see, but ultimately can really cost you a lot. Our database secures those calculations so you don't have to worry about it. Flexibility. B2W Estimate is infinitely scalable. It allows everyone to use the same system, no matter how large or how small the job is. The fact that it mirrors the Microsoft Office look and feel means it's more familiar, easier to use, and requires less training than other systems on the market. All of this really just translates to a faster return on your investment. Management information. Reporting both the reports and on-screen analysis is huge when you're estimating, and you'll see during the webinar extensive on-screen analysis and reporting functions. The Microsoft Windows Standard. We are a Microsoft certified partner, and also our platform is created on the latest .NET and SQL technology. It really gives you a powerful tool that's easy on the eye. You'll find that B2W Estimate is easy to learn and use right from the start, because it's built from the ground up using Microsoft development tools and was designed to conform strictly to Microsoft standards. So seamless integration and round-trip information flow, what that is, it really is, B2W Estimate was designed to integrate with accounting, project management, and other software packages that you already use. That means that you can seamlessly send out the information from your B2W Estimate when you win the job to set up your project, to set up your schedule, and also set up to your costing information as well to your accounting system. Multiple users in the estimate. This is a huge thing. When we go into an Excel spreadsheet, usually it's one person in that Excel spreadsheet at a time, or you have multiple Excel spreadsheets that you're handing around in the office, and that allows you, to really kind of slows down the whole estimating process. B2W Estimate is going to allow you to have multiple estimators in a single bid, doing, say, the entire process, and then maybe at bid closing, all of you are going to be able to actually help with different things like the RFQs that are coming in to handle those incoming last-minute quotes, while somebody's working in the same exact estimate and taking care of, say, finalizing on quantities, bid pricing, and those kind of things. So it really does allow a good collaboration even within a single bid. So basically, it really does speed up the bidding process, make it much more efficient, and give you a lot of flexibility in getting that bid finalized and getting it out. Development support and training. Many of our Excel users have voiced trouble in getting in touch with the person that created that proprietary spreadsheet and continue development. How am I going to add to this spreadsheet that was created by someone in my office 20 years ago? So this is going to allow you to actually, take care of calling us directly for any support. Even at our yearly conferences, you can talk to our developers, and again, 24/7 support with our system. So if you have any questions, you can call us directly. Access to your data. A lot of our people have told us, ask the question, well, have you ever had any trouble accessing your Excel spreadsheet due to maybe a password issue or maybe a file corruption? Huge thing about our system is B2W allows your local administrators to make sure that your passwords can be set locally, and also because we're using an enterprise class database, there are no files to become corrupt. So it really does allow you a seamless access to your data without any interruption. So the next part is going to be the demonstration so that we can go through the B2W Estimate product and actually show you step by step what's in there and how we're going to actually push these bullets, all the standardization, the flexibility, the management information, and show that to you from within the product itself. So what we're going to do today is now go through a true demonstration of the B2W Estimate product and kind of put together all those bullet points to show you how they work in the system. Here, what you're looking at here is the home page for B2W Estimate. A few different areas here that offset us from a simple Excel spreadsheet is that we can hold all the recent estimates that you as an estimator have been working on. And these are absolute just hyperlinks to get you to that information. So you don't even have to go search for them. In addition to that, we do store all of your bids in one SQL database. So if it's not an estimate that you've been working on recently, you can come here, click on Open Estimate, and this is one centralized location where we store all your bids. No more misplaced bids, no more searching multiple folders for your estimates. Everything's stored in one Microsoft SQL database. There's tons of ways that you can find bids. You can either store them in your own folder sets. We have a very efficient search feature that if I'm looking for, say, my regional development bid, as I start typing, you notice every letter that I type will bring me down to the bid that I'm looking for. We also have filtering that we can go by status of the bid, by primary customer, by estimate type, or even search by estimator. So that's one way that we can store all your estimates in one central location so you're not having to look all over your server to find the bids you're looking for. We also offer the ability in our market analysis section to store competitors' information on previous bids. So here you'll see under bid results, I've got a listing of all the estimates I have, and in this estimate, I've actually loaded in all of my competitors' information, both at the bid level, total bid price, but if you choose to, you can list those prices at each individual line item level as well. So you'll have all this historic information to see how your competitors have bid on the same work that you've bid on. You'll also see in just a bit how we can utilize this inside the estimate as well. So we're going to go back to the home page. Another unique part about us is to be able to take an estimate out of this system. Well, it's not easy to do. So unlike your Excel spreadsheets where somebody can take your Excel spreadsheet with all your sensitive costing and pricing and historic information and walk away with it, we have the ability to disconnect from the database using what we call mobile estimating. So really that's one way. You can actually go in with the given permission to do so. You can disconnect from your network server and check out a bid or multiple estimates that you want to work on when you're away from the system. Again, a lot of security, like how long can I check this bid out so that at the end of, say, the 5-day checkout period, the information on my laptop is no longer usable. So again, we're not making it easy for people to walk away with information from your database. But you could also, given your IT parameters in your office, then you could also use, say, a remote desktop to get back to the server and work on your bids that way as well. So now let's go into one of the back-end areas of the product. We've got two back-end areas we're going to be talking today. We're going to be talking about resources and the item databases. We'll do a high-level look at these to show you where the information is stored in one central area for the estimators to pull from to create their bids. The first area is resources, and it really holds all the building blocks for your estimate. Here you've got labor, equipment, crews, materials, all the way down to what we call organizations, which would consist of things like your customers, your subcontractor, and vendor information. Inside each one of these resources, we're also holding very specific calculations that are being secured in the background in our database, such as labor here. We've got burdens being calculated. We've got unit cost, overtime cost, and those are standards that are set up by your company so you know exactly what you're dealing with when you pull these costing resources into a bid. Same thing with equipment. You can set up equipment faults to calculate your base cost, your burden, things like that in the background. And even we can go in and do fuel consumptions and things. And again, you can be very assured that these calculations are secure in the background and making sure that nothing's broken. Crew templates. This is an area that as I work with many customers out in the field, I found that this was a true pain point for Excel users. When an Excel user creates a bid, it's almost every estimate, every line item, you have to create the crew template or crew structure you need for that work. Well, this database gives you the ability to store, again, in one centralized standard fashion, all the crews that you would ever need while you're bidding. I'm going to pick on my excavation crew here for just a second. Inside this crew, I've got the name of the crew, so I know what I'm pulling into my bid. I've got the default equipment I'd use in this crew most often, the default labor that I would use in this crew most often, and I can even put in production rates here as well. Now the flexibility of our system and again the scalability allows me to take any of these resources, build them in one central area so that all my estimators have the same starting point, But any resource here, once I pull it into a bid, I can make any bid-specific changes I need. But pre-creation of your crews is a huge time saver. We hold material list, again using your terminology. So when you're reviewing a bid, you're not looking for material codes, you're actually using the terminology that would make sense to you when you're reviewing in any area that's pulled from resources. We also hold miscellaneous costs, but one thing here that you'll notice, I'm talking about why to switch from Excel today. You'll also notice that we do Excel integration. We know that Excel is a very powerful tool, absolutely. What we can do here is we can take your Excel workbooks that you've been currently using and actually store them in our system. You can link them here to resources, to quantities, production rates, costs. You can also link them to the items I'm going to show you here in a second. But basically that allows you to take your spreadsheet that you're currently using, pull this into an estimate, make estimate-specific changes, and take the information from any cell and feed it into areas of the bid. So really it's marrying an enterprise class database-driven system for estimating with the power of Excel. Our task templates are really the first area where you're starting to see all these resources come to play. In a task template, you can build, really it's a task that holds any combination of any of the resources. So I'm going to pick on my 2-inch asphalt paving one here just to show you inside we can build as many costing resources as we want, and again standardizing the structure before you bring it into an estimate. Inside this task I already have my crew, I already have production rates established, I already have my materials and my trucking calculator. But this could be any combination of any resource that you're saying. And down below, we really have a listing of organizations such as a customer database, subcontractor information, vendor information, and these two areas actually start the process of sending out requests for quotes to your subcontractors and vendors within the bid, given the default information you've built in here. So basically, that's all the information that's being stored here in resources in a standard fashion for you to pull from. The next area, I'm going to go back to the home page, is called our item databases area. And this is where we can take those resources and actually pre-construct scopes of work or line items that you might use repetitively in a bid. Here in the item databases area, you can see at the top we have an area for custom databases. This allows you as a user to build as many buckets, so to speak, to store and organize the items that you use most often. Here with pay items highlighted, here's a listing of items that I've created for these demonstrations. And again, scalability, these can be as simple or as detailed as you want them to be. I'm going to bounce into a fine grade item and just show you, again, these are truly line items that would go into a bid with all their costing resources inside. So inside I've got a description of the item, I've got the unit of measure already established that I'm going to push out to my customer. We can even hold a standard listing of your cost or phase codes for your accounting system so that you can pre-code items outside the bid. And down below to do the work, I just have my crew and I already have a production rate. Again, this is allowing you to pre-construct work so that now when I need this scope, I drag it into a bid, make some minor changes to it, and I'm good to go. We also have DOT databases. The DOT databases allow you to interface with all the state systems and even 4 provinces in Canada that do standardized work. So the states supply us with these databases given all their standard item numbers, description, units of measure, and inside each of these items you can build as many crews, materials, task assembly, anything you need inside, so that again you're doing as much work before the bid as you can, so you're doing the least amount of data entry in the estimate, and again allowing you to create those standards outside the bid. We also interface with the EBS systems, so if you do electronic bidding with any of the states, we can import those bids in, and on import it will actually cross-reference any of the DOT databases, see if you have costing structure, and not only create the bid, but also bring in your crews, your materials. And on the flip side, when you put your pricing into your bid, we can push out a file that goes back out to the DOT with pricing. The last area here in item databases is really indirect items. And these are costs that don't have a home in the bid. And this is also another pain point I see with Excel users. These are costs that really don't have a line item, so they need to be put into the bid and potentially spread out to multiple items. Or for most Excel users I've seen, you can do that, but it's usually an even spread across all items. What we can do is load these costs in, again, with as much or as little detail as you want. When we get them into the bid, we can spread them either evenly or selectively across the items that you have existing in your bid. And I'll show you an example of that once we get into the estimate. So, these are just a few highlights on what we can do, in the back-end storage areas before we've even gotten into a bid. So let's go do that. Let's actually go into an estimate and show you how this looks. So I'm going to go into my home page. And on the home page, I'm going to go into an established estimate. I'm going to go into my Riverside development bid. Inside here, let's talk again about multiple estimators in a single estimate. Again, that's huge. Everybody can start contributing in this bid to the whole bidding process. And then those last final hours of the bid really are working in separate areas to make sure that you're pushing out this bid in time. And with accuracy and flexibility in mind, all actions can be tracked, checked for errors, and even user-defined settings can be put in place. Now, just to kind of preface this, we do have 3 versions of our software. We have the basic, the professional, and the enterprise. I'm going to be showing you features that exist across the entire platform in all versions. If at any point that you want to look further into our software, we can provide you a listing of exactly which feature sets are in each actual version. Just wanted to mention that up front. So here on the estimate information page, you'll notice that there's a series of tabs here. We created the bidding process, so really you're not leaving this screen, you're just going from tab to tab to create your bid and going in a really logical fashion from left to right till you finish your estimate. Now here on the estimate information page, it's one central place to load in all the front page or cover page information for your bid. We can put in things like the status of the bid, project information. We can attach documents directly into the estimate here, links to websites that you may need to access. We can assign estimators to the bid. If you're doing DOT work, we can do minority participation calculations here. And even if we haven't given you enough to fill out, you can even create your own user-defined fields that are bid-specific or like this one that show in every bid. The next area is our item listing tab. This is the area that you're going to go in that really is the first place you're dealing with the cost in the bid. On a normal estimate creation, what this is going to do, this is going to come in as a total blank slate. For that, this is where we can actually start creating the items for this bid. And again, there's a few different ways we can do that. Using Excel as an example, again, we know the power of Excel, and there's a lot of people who may provide you an Excel-based document with your line items for your bid. We can import those line items in. We can import in the DOT files. We can create items on the fly. And we can also access those stored items to pull in those standard items directly into this bid. So again, giving you those standardized lists that you and your company have set up that you pull into the estimate, and then you only have to make minor adjustments to make it bid specific. Now, this screen and every grid that you see in our system like this, it looks like an Excel page. You can customize the columns. So personalizing the screen is absolutely there for you. When you click on Customize Columns, you can move things around to readjust. You can remove columns that you don't want. You can add additional columns. We have over 150 columns in the back end of the product, giving you unlimited flexibility, and you can even create your own personalized columns called tags with their own drop-downs, unique entries, and this really gives you unlimited ways that you can sort, filter, group, subtotal, and show the information here on screen for an on-screen analysis. But also on our bid form, you can use the same functionality to put out a personalized looking bid form the way your customer wants to see it. Now, the screen here, the next screen, is really where most of your estimators are going to spend their time, the Estimate Detail tab. Again, on-screen analysis is huge, that anything I click here, you can immediately see those values, breakdowns. You can even get further breakdowns just by windowing over totals. Now, going in with, say, the right-click, features within a Microsoft or Microsoft tool, you can do the same thing here. If I right-click on an item, I get tons of options to manage that item. There, if I like this item, if I built it in this bid, the unique part that we have is that it's not locked into this estimate. I don't have to go recreate it when I create my next Excel-based sheet. I can actually take that item and save it back over to my item databases. So once I create it, I only build it once and I can use it over and over and over. Another unique part that we have over and above Excel estimating is since all your bids are stored in one central location, I can look at the historical use of that item across multiple bids using our View Item History feature. So when I right-click on an item, I want to look at that history. It actually comes up with an immediate search based on the exact formulation I have here. Given that, I can see every time I've used this item. I can see the estimate I used it in. I can even see the status. Did I win the job? Did I lose the job? Is it still in progress? When I click on an item, I can actually see the contents of how I bid that item: crew structure, production, trucking, testing. And again, to further pull in the competitors' information, if I can see my prices, it might be beneficial to see how my competitors have bid on that work in the past as well. Another thing that we have that Excel users really like is called cost groups. This allows us to put costing in one central area and push its cost out to multiple pay items. So in this example, I have sweeping that I've got a subcontractor's quote on for the entire sweeping for the job. Well, I have two line items that need to absorb some of that cost. Well, I could go to each one of those items and put in the cost, or I could simply put all the cost here, whether it be subcontractor, crew, materials, whatever I want to put that I want to apportion out. And based on the quantity and percentages, it's going to take that cost and appropriately apply it to those items. Now, instead of even having to go here, I can go look to make sure that's what happened. I can simply double-click on the line with my 1-inch asphalt paving. It's going to bring me to that line item, and I can see that my sweeping has been apportioned appropriately, and that's the amount of cost that's been pushed there. I also mentioned Excel integration. Again, I'm trying to talk you to go away from Excel to come into a database-driven system. But again, we know that Excel is a very, very powerful tool. So this is how we would utilize that within the actual bid. I would have that spreadsheet stored within the estimate so that now everything I do in this bid as far as changing pipe size, length, coming up with these final calculations is bid specific. From here, each of these cells have a red corner in. That's indicating that we've put a comment in telling what's in that cell. I can go anywhere in the system and link to that comment so that as I change information here, it dynamically pushes those changes into the bid item. And here's the example. I've got this spreadsheet attached to this pay item. It's pulling in my bid quantity from the pay sheet, from the spreadsheet. It's pulling in my excavation quantity from the spreadsheet. So again, giving us really a lot of functionality given all that. The last thing I'm going to show you on this page, and this is another huge pain point for estimators, is being able to check for errors. In a very busy bid with multiple sheets and multiple tabs and multiple areas, checking for errors is really a painful process. What we've built into our system is called the Estimate Check Wizard. The Check Wizard goes out and checks for the most common things that estimators tell us they miss. Not only in the costing area, but if you're using our request for quote management system or even for bid closing, it's going to check for errors in all areas. And it's fast. When I hit the start button here, you're going to see it goes out and actually throws up yellow warning signs where I have potential errors in my bid. Fractional crew days, default production rates that I didn't update for this bid. The last one here, I've got 4 zeros in my bid. Another unique part about our system is we're not going to make you go look for these errors. When I hit the Go To button here on the screen, it actually takes me to the zeros in my bid. So I've got no quantity here in that bedding. It couldn't calculate any cost, so it brings me right to it so that I can decide, is that something I need to delete out or throw a quantity in there and fix. So again, the premise here is really trying to make it very efficient and accurate as you go through the bidding process. The next area is bid pricing. Bid pricing allows you one-stop shopping for creating things like your bond cost. You can store multiple bond tables in our system and just pick from the list. Overhead. I can create overhead as a single percentage or multi-level percentages like I have my profit set up. Here I can put different points on labor, equipment, materials. I even have the option to come in and mark up my subcontractors independently. And even if I want to mark up different scopes of work independently, I can have entire screens just like this for my concrete work, a different one for my earthwork, a different one for my paving and pipe. So I can have different markup strategies to give me exactly the total price I'm looking for when I push my bid out the door. And those last minute changes, somebody comes in and says, you know what, that's too much profit on that job, let's go ahead and knock some off there, or let's add something to this job. Well, we've got the ability in one spot to come in and create your adds and cuts that immediately impact within seconds the final numbers on your bid. Distribution strategy I've already mentioned, and this is more in the line of how we move around things like your indirect monies, your bond, your overhead and profits selectively around your bid. And this is where, again, Excel users find it that they can do this pretty easily if they're going to do a straight spread across all their items. But if I want to selectively push these costs into items and exclude it selectively as well, like I have here, I've got a contingency item that can't absorb any additional cost. So I've excluded my indirect cost spread from that item. I can do it a few different ways, proportional all the way down by percentages, and say maybe I want 50% in this item and I want 30 per here and 20 here. So again, it gives you a lot of immediate flexibility on how you push any of these monies out in the bid. Item pricing. This is our area where you can close out the prices on your item. And again, another on-screen analysis tool based on the column sets that you have here and the view that you have at the top of the screen. So I have a very standard view here as it sits. But if I want a more detailed view, I can simply expand that view, giving me more information such as markup percentage, margin percentage, showing me my adds and cuts and how that affects my bid. In addition, for a lot of Excel users, rounding issues can be a problem to get you a very accurate bid at the end of the day. So as we have to round any information out, you can see the difference in the rounding that we've created so that you know that you've got an accurate bid quantity times your unit price, giving you a total price and an accurate bid that won't be kicked out by the owner. The Summary tab is just that. It's a summarization of all the different values in your bid, and again, another on-screen analysis tool before you even look at one of our reports. Here we can see direct, indirect totals. I can see direct labor, equipment, man hours, crew days, and even my minority percentage to see if I've met the goal that the state has set up for me. If I want to see a little more information, I can hit the All button, and it breaks out things like equipment owned and rented, and I can even break out burdens and taxes, and I can even look at these numbers per the type of work I'm performing. So again, very quick access without having to leave the screen. The bid form, this is the first of one of over 100 reports that you'll see in our system. They're dynamically being created in the back end, and where there really are no true reports in Excel, these are our reports that we've gathered over the last 20 plus years as we've worked in our system to be able to give our customers exactly what they need. This one is our bid form or proposal form, where we can put on terms, conditions, payment terms, bid form attachments so that you can attach documents to be sent out with your bid form. In the settings area here, I can show or not show my line item information as far as pricing and quantity to turn this from a unit price bid into a lump sum bid with just a few clicks. And down under print, fax, and email, I've got the customer I've chose. I can choose the contact that I want to send it to, and then I can print, fax, and email this bid form directly from the screen. And with that, when I preview it, it's a nice professional looking document that would have your custom logo at the top, who you're sending the information to, project information, line item information, again, excluding any of these lines of information if you want, terms, conditions, all the way down to a nice handy place for people to sign. In addition, if you quickly wanted to split this into like phases, you could come here, say, I want to group it by phases. My owner wants to see phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. That quickly, in seconds, I can come and change the look and feel of this bid form showing subtotals for each of my phases, and you can do that many, many different ways. In addition to that, we have our audit trail, and this is another really powerful feature that Excel users like because they don't have this capability in Excel. What this system is doing, it's actually date, time stamping, and putting the initials of every action that happens in your bid. It's holding things like the old value that you may have changed your price from and to, its impact on costing and pricing, and you can search tons of different ways to find what you want. And there's a ton of security on this as well as far as who can actually turn this on, who can turn it off. Those kind of things are being set up in the background and secured based on administrator rights. The next thing I talked about is that round-trip information flow. We can export by going simply to Tools, Import Export, and exporting the detail of this estimate. We can send the information that you've created in this bid out to over 40 different accounting packages and also project scheduling packages. So I've got a ton of them loaded in my system, but if you come on board, what we do is we load in the one that's specific to your needs. But really, if I wanted to send this out to Microsoft Excel project, I can just come in, hit a couple buttons, and boom, I've created a file that now project can import that has a cost and resource loaded schedule involved. Reporting, we have over 100 reports in the system. Over 76 of those reports are within the estimate itself. So here we use a form called Active Reporting. It's a really easy on the eye reporting tool. I'm going to pick on my cost detail report just a second just to show you what it looks like. Again, it would have your custom logo at the top of each and every report. This report itself breaks it down line item by line item: production, days, quantities, unit cost, direct cost. It would show subcontractor information and vendor information. And at the end of a lot of our reports, we have rolled up totals as well, showing you things like your direct cost totals, your indirect, and your pay item summary. The other report I frequently show is our work order report, and this is one that really was designed to send out to the field. Very popular report. What this report does, again, it breaks it down line item by line item, showing how I bid the job so the foreman knows exactly what to expect. Production, how many days the work's going to take to perform and how many hours a day. And we also send your cost codes out with this. But you'll notice on this report, we did strip off any sensitive cost information. The last area I want to show you inside the bidding system is the ability to send out requests for quotes to your subcontractors and your vendors. So these two small utilities here handle that entire process from directly within the estimate. So not having to create additional spreadsheets, leave the product to do this, we can send out requests for quotes for subcontractor services and also vendor-specific materials for this bid. Now, here under vendor management, we're using material categories to narrow down to a smaller group of vendors. So basically, these are the types of materials, and we've used the system setup and resources to narrow down to just the vendors that can supply me with these materials. That allows me to send out a vendor request for quote. I can do that with varying degrees of information. First column would go to everybody. Here I can be very specific on who gets what information on their RFQ. And then when I come down, I can print, fax, and email just like I did with the bid form, and we'll keep track of who you send it to and how you send it. Now when I get my prices, I simply come back into my vendor profile and drop in the prices that they've given me. And to compare that final number, I'm on my aggregates here, I'm under my quote comparison tab, and I can see everybody that has sent me in pricing on these materials. And with a very simple drop down, I can come down and choose a winner. With my cheapest person being in first place here, as soon as I pick that person, those prices are immediately shot out into the bid, whether this bidding was in 1 item or 30 items. So easy process to send that information out. So that is a quick overview of the B2W Estimate system and how we over-excel in some respects, but giving you a lot of functionality that you may not have in your simple Excel spreadsheets. But even that, you can see how we're even using those Excel spreadsheets inside our system. Well, I want to thank you for coming in today. I'm going to go back over to my PowerPoint here and want to thank you for attending. We do have some last-minute time. We've got about 9 minutes left for any additional questions that you may have. But in addition to that, if you have any questions, you can always call our sales department. The number is right there on the line. In addition, our support department, for any clients that we have on the line today, you can always call questions for them. And we're also going to be sending you out an email link to get to this recorded session. So if you've got somebody in the office who wasn't able to make the webinar today, we'll absolutely be able to send that out to you so that you can look at this on your own.